So welcome back to part 2 in this little mini series that I'm creating. Today I want to go over round tapers. There's a little bit of theory I want to cover with you, so let's get started. So in my previous video I went over a lot more in depth on taper theory. So if you're unsure, go back and watch that one. To do a round taper, you have to go square, octagon and round. If not, you can end up with this little recess called hollowing or cart mouth or fish lipping, which can get forged up the inside and it can form a crack, which is what we don't want. So you have to go square, octagon, and round. Let's get the forge lit and I'll show you what I mean. So to start with, I'm going to forge a square taper. If you want to know more about that process, please go back to part 1 video where I demonstrate how to forge square tapers. When making round tapers, your square taper needs to be under measurement. The process of going from square, octagon, round makes your round taper gain length. I've roughed out my square taper. I'm currently looking at about 65 millimeters. I want to aim to get to 80. So you want to finish short, because if you took that to 80 and then you started rounding it off, it would grow even more. You'd have to chop it off and then square it all up. As you go along, always make sure everything's nice and evenly forged, just because it makes your life easier when you come to this next stage, which is turning it to octagon and then round. How you take it to octagon, you've just been working it on the flats this way. You're going to work it on its edge. You can take your hammer and work from the back forward, making sure the taper stays on the anvil and none of the rest of the bar, or it's not too high, too low, because otherwise it'll end up bending. At the back here, you can have heavier blows, but as you work your way forward, you want to lighten your blows up, so you don't want to squish it too much. If you squish it too much, you end up chasing it. You end up making more work for yourself as you go along. So let's get this back hot and I'll show you what I mean. As you can see, I've got 8 even sides and they're all pretty much the same size. If I took another heat, I could neaten up a little bit more, but I'm not going to, because I'm just going to round it up. Decoratively, I could leave this as an 8-sided shape and it would look quite nice. So my next step is all these high spot corners, I'm going to take them off. So effectively, I'm taking it from an 8-sided shape and taking it to a 16-sided shape. Measurement wise, I'm pretty much near my 80 mil, probably about 75, probably near the 80. If I needed to, I could upset that back in or trim a little bit off if I've got enough material back here to work with. And then I could draw it out a little bit more to meet my measurement. But I'm quite happy with that. Problems a lot of people can have is they don't work it enough back here. And you end up with something which is a little bit square with rounded corners. You want a nice, even, smooth transition from your square to a round. So let's get this warmed back up and I'll show you the next step. So that was only one heat and I've just taken these high spots off. Already it's looking pretty round. My next step is to run the hammer back up and down it a little bit more and I'll get the rasp on it just to take some of these high spots out. I'll constantly check with my rule as I go along to make sure everything's nice and flat and smooth. I've got no bits which go out or in. You can also put it on the edge of your bar to make sure the tape is in the middle and it's not veering off one way or the other. So let's get this hot and we'll go again. And there we go. One heat where I've just ran up and down with the hammer, then I've quickly gone over it with the rasp, just try and take off any of those high hammer marks. And that's pretty much it. It's nice and in the center, it's nice and flat as I've gone along, and I've just kept trying to make sure everything's nice and square and straight and in line as I go. So just a quick little recap when forging round tapers. Make sure you go square, octagon round. If you don't, you'll end up with a little hollowing in the end of that which can form a crack. Try and keep everything nice and straight and try and get a good hammer finish. It's always nice to have a nice hammer finish on your work. If you do have any questions, please drop them in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. See you later.